Gentlewoman is recognized.
As a result of this repeal legislation, small businesses in the state of Illinois will see a tax increase of $1.7 billion. And with that, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Connecticut, Mr. Murphy.
Gentleman from Connecticut is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, when I testified against this repeal before the Rules Committee, I told the story about a family in my district. The husband had lost his job and therefore his insurance because of a debilitating injury. Now this family faced a choice. They either had to dip into their savings account, their high school son's college fund, or they had to sell their house. They chose to first spend down the college account so that they could keep a roof over their head. And when I told that story, one Republican on the committee basically said, wait, I don't get it. They have money. They had a house. Why should somebody else pay for their health care if they had assets? Well, that member was right about one thing. She didn't get it, and Republicans don't get it, because in a nation as compassionate as this, no family should be forced out on the street just because one of their family members gets sick. There is a moral imperative behind making sure that we live up to our duty to be our brother's keeper. But it's more than that. There's a fiscal imperative here. What she also didn't get was when that family savings is done, once they're out on the street, we all pick up the costs. Small businesses pick up the cost. That's why small businesses are paying 18% more than big businesses. That's why about $1,100 of every single premium for a small business employee goes to cover the uninsured. There are thousands of small businesses in Connecticut organized under the auspices of a group called Small Businesses for Healthcare Reform that are crying out for this repeal to be defeated because they see the $260 billion price tag attached to this bill that is going to land on their head, as well as the continuation of discriminatory practices that ask small businesses to pay for the uninsured like that family that I talked about. This bill isn't anything more than a political statement. But families in my district, small businesses in my district need more than politics. They need answers. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Missouri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, at this time I'd yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Iowa, Mr. King.
Gentleman from Iowa is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the chairman for yielding time. And I listened to this delivery ahead of me. I spent 28.5 years in business. I'm at payroll for over 1,400 consecutive weeks. I never saw a regulation that made my job easier or allowed me to make more money. This is 2,400 pages of legislation. It's thousands more pages of regulation. It's oppressive to small business. It should be called the Entrepreneurial Extinction Act, not this health care plan. This is Obamacare. It must be pulled out completely by the roots. The American people know this. That's why there are 87 freshman Republicans on this side, 9 freshman Democrats on this side. The American people have spoken resoundingly. It is our obligation to go down this path. It's not symbolic. It's very important, because without this vote on this floor, we can't move forward with the rest of this scenario to eliminate Obamacare. The language in the bill is pretty simple, and it concludes with this language, and act is repealed, and the provisions of law amended or repealed by such act are restored or revived as if such act had never been enacted. Close quote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman from New York.
Madam Speaker, how much time is remaining on each side?
Gentlewoman from New York has 8 minutes remaining. Gentleman from Missouri has 11 minutes remaining.
I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from New Mexico, Mr. Lujan.
Gentleman from New Mexico is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. During this difficult economic times that we're facing, it's critical that we make job creation a top priority. That's why I'm concerned about the impact H.R. 2 will have on small businesses. The Republican plan will repeal a 35% tax credit for small businesses that offer health insurances to their employees. It would allow insurers to deny a business coverage if their employees had pre-existing conditions. As a result of health insurance reform, New Mexicans no longer face this discrimination. If this protection is repealed, having cancer or diabetes or even being a victim of domestic violence could lead to denial of insurance. Discrimination for pre-existing conditions will be alive and well. All of that would be dangerous for New Mexicans. People like Yvonne from Santa Fe would once again have to worry about losing their health care. Yvonne lost her job when the company she worked for was shipped overseas. Yvonne was diabetic, and because of the high cost of Cobra, she was forced to ration her medicine. As a result, she became gravely ill and had to visit the emergency room. There, doctors noticed another problem that required further examination. Yet because Yvonne could not afford Cobra and because private insurance companies would not insure her because she had diabetes, The hospital released her. The only option Yvonne had was to wait 2 months to be seen at the University of New Mexico Hospital. After that visit, she was diagnosed with a form of lung cancer that would have been caught earlier if she had not been kicked out. Yvonne passed away from complications resulting from the cancer, having suffered through a system that discriminated against her. We simply cannot return to the days when people like Yvonne are forced to suffer because of insurance companies' bad practices. Please, let's not turn a blind eye on people like Yvonne. Madam Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Missouri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, at this time I'd yield 1 minute to the gentlelady from North Carolina, a nurse and the new chairwoman of the Subcommittee on Health Care and Technology, Ms. Elmers.
Gentlewoman from North Carolina, recognized for 1 minute.
I ask that my remarks, unanimous consent for my remarks to be revised and extend the remarks to congressional
Without
record.
objection.
Madam Speaker, when I ran for Congress, I vowed to repeal Obamacare. And with one of my first votes in the 112th Congress, I will do so. As a nurse for 20 years, co-owner of a wound care clinic, and in practice with my husband in his general surgery practice, we know the problems that exist for Americans in health care. Instead of being a remedy to these problems, Obamacare has already done more harm than good to both the quality of health care in our country as well as our economy. As a nurse, I look for pathways to solutions. This is a problematic pathway, undoubtedly. In the face of rising unemployment, unsustainable federal deficits, and overwhelming public opposition, it took more than a year to cobble together an unpopular government takeover of health care, so riddled with provisions that violate right-to-life principles and support government rationing of care that it cannot simply be patched. Obamacare is bad for workers, it's bad for employers, and bad for America. Repealing it allows us to start. Thank you very much. I yield back the portion of my time.
Madam Speaker, I'd yield the gentlelady 30 more seconds.
Gentlelady is recognized for an additional 30 seconds.
Thank you. Repealing it allows us to start with a clean slate and look at market-based reforms that will actually lower health care costs. It'll increase accessibility, let Americans keep their plans if they have them and they like them, and it will forestall impending drastic changes that have created uncertainty in the lives of so many Americans. To this Congress, I will work with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to repeal and replace the law's job-killing regulations and state bankrupt mandates. The bill to repeal the so-called Affordable Care Plan
expired.
Thank you so much.
Gentlewoman from New York.
Madam Speaker, I reserve.
Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Missouri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, at this time I'd yield 1 minute to the gentlelady from New York, Ms. Hayward.
Gentlelady from New York is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Madam Speaker. I rise today in strong support of this legislation to repeal the Affordable Care Act. As a physician with 16 years of practice experience, I can assure you that the Affordable Care Act will paradoxically deprive Americans of care. It enshrines a third-party payment system that adds to costs, then in the name of controlling costs, transfers power from consumers to the government to make crucial decisions that belong in the hands of patients and their doctors. It neglects to deal effectively with reforms in medical liability that are desperately needed to reduce the unconscionable cost of defensive medicine. Our vote to repeal is not merely symbolic. It represents the true will of the American public, and it will pave the way to reform our health care in a way that will allow our citizens to have the good, cost-effective health care and affordable, portable health insurance they need while maintaining the quality, choice, and innovation that represents the best of American medicine. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman from New York.
I continue to reserve.
She continues to reserve her time. Gentleman from Missouri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, at this time I would yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Gozer.
Gentleman from Arizona is recognized for 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, America is hurting, but the health care law passed last year did not fix any problems. It would only make things worse. Small businesses can barely make ends meet, and now the federal government is imposing more mandates, more taxes, and more red tape. Enough is enough. As a healthcare provider, a small business owner, and a father, I know that the way to provide healthcare to more individuals and create more jobs is not through government bureaucracies, deficit spending, and higher taxes. Rather, we need to empower businesses, big and small, to band together to purchase health insurance. We need to open markets with free competition. We also need to implement real health care reform that will lower the cost of care and open up access. Tort reform, red tape reform, pre-existing conditions reform. These are reforms that will work, reforms the current law failed to adequately address or ignore altogether. If we are serious about putting our nation back to work, then we can start by repealing this onerous health care law and work hand in hand with the American people to implement true health care reform. I yield back the balance of my time. Thank you.
Gentlewoman from New York.
Madam Speaker, I continue to reserve.
Gentlewoman continues to reserve. Gentleman from Missouri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, at this time I'd yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized for 1 minute.
I rise today in support of the repeal and replacement of the so-called Affordable Care Act of 2010 because the Affordable Care Act is in fact unaffordable for small businesses and individuals who purchase their health insurance. Since the implementation of the Act, businesses and individuals across my home county of Bucks County have seen double-digit premium increases. The Act is unaffordable for states already billions in the red that will be required to shoulder untold millions more in Medicaid costs. The Act is unaffordable for America's seniors, who will see a $500 billion reduction in Medicare spending over the next 10 years. And finally, the Act is unaffordable for the American taxpayer, who will see a $700 billion increase in the federal deficit. We must enact real health care reform, tort reform for doctors to stop the wasteful practice of defensive medicine, permitting individuals real competition to purchase across state lines, and enacting and enhancing health savings accounts. These are the cornerstones of real health care reform and affordability that will make health care affordable and accessible for patients, for seniors, states, and for generations of taxpayers to come. I yield back.
Gentlewoman from New York.
Madam Speaker, I would like to inquire as to how much time each side.
Gentlewoman from New York has 6 minutes remaining. Gentleman from Missouri has 6.5 minutes remaining.
At this time, I would like to yield 2 minutes to the gentlelady from California, Ms. Richardson.
Gentlewoman from California is recognized for 2 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I rise today in strong opposition to H.R. 2, the Patient's Rights to Appeal 2010, and I would urge my colleagues, let's keep true to the tone of civility. This isn't Obamacare. It's actually called the Affordable Care Act. So, Madam Speaker, at a time when Americans finally have a chance to see a regular doctor, to prevent sitting in hospital rooms in emergency waiting for desperate care, we finally have a chance. What does this mean to small businesses? In California and in my own hometown, 15,100 small businesses have seen a 50% tax credit to provide health care for the first time for their employees. Over 16,000 additional small businesses will now be eligible for health care exchanges that will make insurance affordable. In my district, these are real people, like Betty Claire in my district. Now you're talking about considering something that would prevent Medicare for 63,000 beneficiaries, extending coverage to 88,000 residents in my district. That's what we're talking about. And also when you look at guaranteeing 17,000 residents who previously had pre-existing conditions. My colleagues, I urge us, I will vote no on H.R. 2, and I also urge my colleagues to consider not reversing. It's not time to go back. It's time to step forward. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman yields back. Gentleman from Missouri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, at this time I would yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Stivers.
Gentleman from Ohio is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank the gentleman from Missouri for yielding time. I rise in support of the health care repeal bill because doing otherwise would be supporting the job-killing status quo, and that's unacceptable. Whether we start over or we work to fix the current law, we must act. Moving forward, I'm committed to working with my colleagues in a bipartisan manner to support reforms that we agree on, such as helping people with pre-existing conditions get access, and allowing young adults to stay on their parents' plan. But I'm equally committed to eliminating the job-killing portions of the current law, such as the burdensome mandate and the 1099 requirement in the legislation. A small business owner from my district, Kathy, called this the other day and wanted to talk to me about the burdens of the 1099 provision. She called it a nightmare. It'll increase her burden by 12 times. The bottom line is we need to work to lower health care costs for families and allow a more patient-centered approach while not placing unnecessary burdens on the backs of small business and job creators. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Missouri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this time, 1 minute to the gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Womack.
Gentleman from Arkansas is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you to the gentleman from Missouri for the time. Throughout this debate, there's been a lot of talk about jobs, and there should be. There's little doubt that this law impacts American workers. Take, for example, Baldor Electric in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Madam Speaker, this is a company that has 6,000 employees across America, and the impact of the health care law in the first year alone is $2.9 million. How does a company like Baldor absorb that cost? By further automating its processes and through attrition, allowing 50 jobs to disappear. Eliminating 50 jobs in the first year of this law for a company like Baldor, not to mention thousands of companies across America similarly situated, is not my idea of restoring economic prosperity for America. I urge my colleagues to support H.R. 2 and begin the process of crafting a meaningful, affordable, and workable solution. That's the way forward. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentlewoman from New York.
Madam Speaker, I yield 1.5 minutes to the gentleman from New York, Mr. Weiner.
Gentleman from New York is recognized for a minute
I'm curious, do any of the members who have spoken about the impact on small business, are any of them in favor of the tax incentive that is provided on small businesses to provide health care? Of course they are. Now, they might not know it's in the bill because to listen to the rhetoric, and a lot of them can be forgiven, they just came off the campaign trail. They were used to saying glib things like government takeover, job killing. But I would urge you to read the bill. Small businesses get a 30 to 50% tax incentive to provide health care for their workers. Small businesses do. And you know what requirements they have that go along with that? None. No gaudy regulation, no government takeover. And just a word on this whole government takeover thing. I mean, I love you guys, and I know you're caught up in the rhetoric of the campaign. This is tax breaks that are going to go to citizens to buy, wait for it, private insurance policies. Where's the government takeover in that? Now, some of us believe that Medicare, which of course you refer to as a government takeover of health care, and I'm sure you're opposed to that as well, some of us believe that, frankly, the insurance companies aren't providing a lot of value added here. But they're the beneficiaries of this plan. Small businesses today, if the Republicans are successful, will lose that tax incentive. Think that'll create a lot of jobs, guys? It's not going to. And do you think small businesses benefit when they don't provide health insurance and then people go to hospital emergency rooms to get their care? Who do you think pays that bill? The bill fairy? Your taxpayers. Your taxpayers in your states. Now, what's your solution? Well, they don't have a solution. We know what they're against. They're against health reform. We don't know what they're for. Welcome to the Republican majority.
Members are advised reminded to address their comments to the chair. Gentleman from Missouri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from New York, Mr. Gibson.
Gentleman from New York is recognized for 2 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I request permission to revise and extend my...
Without objection.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding. I rise today to express the sentiments of my district in upstate New York. With health care costs continuing to rise at several times the rate of inflation year after year, clearly we need reform. Health care costs were 4.7% of the GDP in 1960. They're over 17% today. We must drive down costs. But the bill passed last year is not the answer. We're going to end up with higher costs, higher premiums, higher taxes, and more burdensome regulation, and more big government at a time we should be consolidating. We need to start over again and arrive at a patient-centered bill, not a government-centered plan we got last year. I believe we can find solutions that drive down costs and expands access without hurting small businesses, without stepping on our freedoms. This bill passed last year dramatically expands the government's involvement in the delivery of health care, which is already significantly increasing premiums in my district and stifling job creation. At a time I believe that both sides of the aisle believe that we should be focusing on job creation. This is not the way forward. Indeed, the new taxes and regulations will hurt our small business, including the medical device industry, a sector of the economy where our region leads the nation. Ultimately, the new law, if not repealed, will hurt families across my district and across America. Moreover, the changes to the Medicaid program will put additional burdens on states already facing very difficult challenges. I plan to vote for repeal. And then later this week, I plan to vote for House Resolution 9 so that we can instruct committees to report a replacement bill that includes insurance reform for wider access to options and choices, and medical liability reform to rein in defensive medicine practices. I think we should engage in a civil, bipartisan discussion with our colleagues across the aisle. Our replacement bill should include coverage for pre-existing conditions and ensure that coverage can't be dropped when you're sick. Ultimately, I believe the fate of this repeal effort will hinge on the content and quality of the replacement bill. If we bring forward in this House a new plan that drives down costs, increases access while protecting choices and the patient-doctor relationship, I believe the American people, evaluating the two respective plans side by side, will pressure the Senate and the President to repeal and replace, because we need reform, but the bill last year is not the answer. It's time to start over. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentlewoman from New York.
Madam Speaker, I would like to inquire as to how much time remaining.
Gentlewoman from New York has 3 minutes remaining. Gentleman from Missouri has two and a half minutes remaining.
I would like to inquire through the chair how many speakers the gentleman has remaining.
Gentleman from Missouri.
I have just one before
I don't have any more speakers, and I'm prepared to close.
So I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from California, Mr. Garimondi.
Gentleman from California is recognized for 2 minutes.
Madam Speaker, this is the most remarkable of all chambers where discussions take place, because in this chamber, if you say something that is not true often enough, somebody will believe that it's actually true. What I've heard today on the floor, I'm just going, well, that's a marvelous thing, when in fact our colleagues on the Republican side want to enact reforms that are already in place. Already in place is the Patient's Bill of Rights. No rescissions. No pre-existing conditions. Children being able to stay, or young adults being able to stay on their parents' policies until the age of 26. They say they want it. It's already the law of America. Wow. What are we going to repeal? You're going to repeal that? You want small businesses to be well taken care of? Well, so do we. That's why if you employ less than 50 people as a small business, you don't have any requirements at all. But if you want to provide health insurance to your employees, wow, the government's going to give you a subsidy, 35% now, building to 50% in the years ahead. What's wrong with that? Where's the harm to small business? What in the world are our colleagues talking about here? I don't get it. It's in the law already. Everything I've heard here in the last half hour is the law of America. So why are you repealing it? So you can have the insurance companies get another shot at taking over the care of patients, which is exactly what they do and exactly what I know, because I was the insurance commissioner in 8 years in California, and I know what the insurance companies do. They are the ones that make the decisions. We don't want that to happen. That's why the Patient's Bill of Rights is the law in America today. The Patient's Bill of Rights would be repealed by this H.R. 2. Not good for Americans. Not good. Some 30 million people would lose their opportunity for insurance. I yield back my time, Madam Speaker.
Gentlewoman from New York.
Madam Speaker, what will small businesses lose if health care reform is repealed? The small business tax credit of up to 50% will be lost. Insurers will be able to continue price gouging. Insurers will be able to deny small businesses coverage without any justification. New health insurance options for small businesses will be eliminated. Small businesses will be unable to pool resources to purchase coverage. Insurers will be able to delay small businesses' access to health insurance. New health options for the self-employed will be abolished. I urge a no vote, and I hope that we spend the remainder of this Congress on measures that truly get small businesses hiring and creating jobs. What we need is to get this economy back on track. By repealing health care reform, we will not achieve that. I yield back the balance of the time.
Gentleman from Missouri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle continue to argue or continue to claim that the health care law is actually going to benefit small businesses, despite the mountain of facts that are out there. Specifically, and what was argued earlier is that the health care tax credit is going to make it easier for employers to offset the costs that are being required to provide health insurance. Unfortunately, this is far from the truth. Any potential assistance from this tax credit is far outweighed by the tax increases and paperwork burdens that this law is going to pile on small businesses. Madam Speaker, the American people spoke loudly in November, and we need to make sure that we move away from a health care law that penalizes our nation's entrepreneurs and places a renewed focus on enacting targeted, common-sense reforms that increase access and lower costs. Madam Speaker, with that, I would urge my colleagues to vote for H.R. 2, and let's get back on track. I'd yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back time for debate. Okay, pursuant to Clause 1C of Rule 19, further consideration of this bill is postponed. All right, pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the Chair declares the House in recess until approximately 6:30 p.m. today.
So the House wraps up the first couple of hours on this health care law repeal. 7 hours total debate time on the issue, with a final vote expected tomorrow evening.